I couldn't stop drinking and not get in trouble. When I was in the Navy, in trouble, I was at captain's mast every month for not being where I was supposed to be. I mean, I wasn't a great lawbreaker. I was a sloppy drunk. I came in late. I was hungover. I had trouble with alcohol. And at that particular point, I'd gone out. I was just on regular night leave, and I'd watched a Red Sox game in San Diego. That was a special treat. And I watched it, and I drank. And then like usual, I drank, and I didn't want to stop, so I went out and I drank some more, and I got some breakfast, and I came back, and I passed out in my motorhome, and then I woke up an hour late. It was like I was an hour and a half late, and I had a suspended bus hanging over me, so I knew that, I'd go back, and it would be not pretty, and I decided that I wanted to drink more than I wanted to go back. And so I went out for a 5-day bat, out in my favorite campground, out away, and in Palma Valley. And I was a mess, and I drank, and I was screwed up, and passed out, fell, did a bunch of stuff. I was a wreck. And the funny thing was, I finally, driving drunk, I pulled the motorhome into a side road near an old campground I used to be at, and somewhere along the line I passed out, and I woke up, and I've been drinking pretty continuously for 5 days. Not like some, but I was doing it, somewhere around a case of beer every 2 or 3 days. I mean, I was continually drunk. And I went out of the motorhome, and I locked myself out of the motorhome. And I was drunk, and what do I do? And the window of the driver's side was open, and I piled some stuff up, and somehow in a drunken state, I piled got in the thing. I still don't know how I did it. I got in there, fell in there, and I felt really odd, really, really odd. Felt really cold, and really just, I felt really weird, very, very weird. I'd never felt that cold and that dead before. I just feel really bad. And I laid down, and I felt just really odd. I felt just really, really strange. And I laid down, and the next thing I know, I heard a voice calling my name, Chuck, Chuck. And I went, there was nobody there. I just, Chuck, Chuck. And I got up, sort of rolled over and got up and went, oh God. And then I got it together, and I got the motorhome together, and I pulled off and pulled out onto the road, and I said, I got to go back. I got to go back to the Navy. And so I drove the car. I drove the motorhome, and it was Escondido was a ways down to San Diego. I had about half hour, 40 minutes to drive, and I almost went into the Jim Jams on the way back. I mean, I hadn't drank anything that morning. I'd never had trouble with Jim Jams, but that particular morning I had to stop the motorhome on the side of the road, and I was shaking so bad. I was going crazy. I was just absolutely going nuts. And I said, "Whoa, God!" And I said, "Oh Lord!" And I went and I drove back, and I was smart enough I went to the rehab center, and I talked to them instead of going back to the Navy. I went to them, because I was looking for an angle to get back into the Navy. I needed some coverage, and they sort of played along with me. They played along. And I talked to the ship, and I said I'd come back that night after I went to a meeting. And I took the van to the meeting that they took everybody that's in rehab back to the. And I went to my first AA meeting after being drunk for five days, being in trouble, having no control over anything. And the thing that I want to leave with you about that particular incident was I went to a young people's meeting, and I listened. And the word that I remember that meeting by was hope. because I'd never been to an AA meeting, and they were talking about what I was dealing with, and they said that there was a way out. There was hope. I didn't have to do what I figured was going to happen. I figured I was going to die. I figured that it was just all I wanted to do was get wasted and take as long as possible to die. That was the total of my thing. I wanted to die slowly. I wanted to stay wasted and die slowly and without as much pain as possible. And they told me I didn't have to die. They told me I could have life back again, and that was very, very encouraging to me. I had to face the music, and I think I relapsed again and stuff like that. But that was the beginning of step one for me. That was the beginning of step one again for me. That was the beginning of, I don't have to die of this. If you're using alcohol, drugs, food, and you're destroying your life gradually, and you're coming to grips with that, that's what step one is. That's the process of light dawning on Marblehead, of understanding that this is not going to work the way I'm doing it. Whatever I'm doing ain't working. I got to do something. I got to do something else. And this is what it is. This is the beginning of step one. I went to a meeting. I went back. Did I get sober? I got sober on an antabuse for a year in the Navy. I did a bunch of stuff. But I relapsed. As soon as I go off the antabuse, I'd relapse. Sometimes I'd relapse, and I drank too soon. I quit taking it, and I might not take it for 24 hours. I'd miss a pill or something like that, and I figure I could drink, and I drank, and it was awful. It was horrid. It was just abominable. I can remember just barfing into a toilet, and the only comfort was the porcelain side of the toilet was cool. I was barfing my guts out. My head was just like horrid, and it was awful. But that night at that meeting, I heard truth. I didn't have to die of this. I just had to do what I had to do, and that was the beginning. I didn't stop drinking at that. I ended up getting sober on antabuse, taking my last cruise to Westpac. Came back, got out of the Navy, and as a drunk would do, I went off the antabuse, and I went on a 2-day bat in Palma Valley, and I did this, and then I got sober again, and I had to basically go home. I was running out of money. I wasn't working. The savings were going away. So I packed the motorhome up, and I started driving home. And on the way, I picked up a 6-pack of beer. Didn't drink it, but I couldn't throw away something I bought, right? So I kept it. And I ended up going to IU, where I graduated from college. And I went to an AA meeting there. And I basically, in part of the process, I said, yeah, I got the 6-pack of beer, but I haven't drank it. And they said, what in the hell are you doing? Throw it out. I didn't throw it out. I went to the geology department where I graduated from college. And I said, I'd like to go to graduate school. And they said, go someplace else. Because I'd done some foolish stuff when I was sober. I stood them up on a research grant for a summer job. And they didn't want to have a thing to do with me. And I was bummed out. I was like, holy crap, this is like, it's not that I felt bad particularly. I just felt awful that I've been, I just felt, crap, I'm just a dummy. And I did go get that 6-pack, and I did drink it. And I drank a lot more than that. I think it was a 2-day thing or something like that. I finally checked out of the union. I was staying at the IU union, and I got a hotel room, and I was just drunk. I was just drunk all the time, and you just do what you do. I'm not going to go into the details of what that was. It was like I say, it's like you end up in the morning with somebody you don't know before, and you're awkward and embarrassed. Everybody was awkward and embarrassed after it. And I knew I'd do anything for. I was running out of money, and I knew after that night that I'd do anything for a drink if I ran out of money. And that wasn't acceptable. That was my bottom. That wasn't acceptable to me. So I just just wasn't acceptable. And I can remember going to a McDonald's parking lot on the way out of town, and I remember just sitting there and saying, "Sweet Jesus, help me." And it was a groan. It was like, "Oh my God, this just really just, oh God, sweet Jesus, help me." The interesting point is that from that moment, I have not had a drink, and it's 44 years. I was young, and now I'm old. And the point of the whole story is that's my getting sober story. I came back to Boston. I didn't drink, and I started doing what I'd heard in AA before in other places. I started going to the Looney Nooney in downtown Boston, listening for the first time. I was hurting. I was hurting when I got back. I wasn't drinking. There was no meds to help me or take care of me. I was just flipping out. I was tweaking and flipping out. I had nights when I didn't sleep. I felt like crap, but I just went to meetings. And I listened, and I took their suggestions. And the funny thing was, I decided, I went into a meeting list, and I said, I found a young people's meeting in Brookline. And I went one Saturday night. I was living with my folks in Needham, and I went to the Brookline Young People's in that first meeting. I went out with them afterwards, and I went to eat and stuff like that. And I came back. And I went to, they suggested a bunch of things, and I did them. I went to that meeting, and I went to a bunch of meetings. I had three or four or five meetings. I ended up with 9 meetings a week. That's the way I rolled for the first 5 years. I just went to meetings. I turned down a great job in Alaska, because I didn't think I could get back from the Alaska pipeline and not get drunk in Anchorage. So I just turned it down. And I ended up getting a job in electronics and what I did in the Navy at BU, and I held that job for 5 years. And basically in those 5 years I didn't drink, and I went to meetings, and I was active in AA, and I did everything that they said to do. I ran with a crowd, and I'm fast friends with some of those people now. Every once a year I go to Vermont and see my friend Tom. Because those relationships are important to me. I had a good friend named Malcolm. He passed away, and I miss him. I have friends I made that I don't necessarily want to know, but I have friends that are lifelong friends too, and I am absolutely blessed because of those years in AA. In the process, I went to. I was a sort of a God guy. I'm a pastor's kid, and I was sort of a God guy, and I asked for help, and I asked God as I understood Him to show me the best way to go. And I'm not making any. I ended up chasing a girl into a prayer meeting, and the girl was she was better than some I found, but she was crazy too, very spiritual and very crazy. I have a it's like crack cocaine for me. They got to be crazy, and they got to be religious and spiritual, really hardcore spiritual, and crazy. And I chased her into a prayer meeting. I got saved. I got baptized in the Holy Ghost, and I was on my Jesus trail. And I found a church in Natick. And I was in that church for 18 years. And I met my wife there and divorced my wife there. Again, I found somebody that was spiritual but not too well wrapped. And you put that together with my not too wrapped and stuff, and it didn't work out at all. It was a disaster. But I ended up a single parent, taking care of 2 kids. But this is all about step 1. What happens when you give up? What happens when you realize you got to give up? And that's what this lesson is going to be about. This one I managed to put my Drunkalog story in here. So the next one is going to be a little bit more about step one, the intricacies of it. But that's the way it rolls for a lot of people. You know, I can't admit it. I'm powerless over alcohol. My life is unmanageable. Admit it, I'm powerless over whatever it is that's ruling my life, and it's unmanageable. And I have to begin. You know, in AA and NA they say go to meetings. You know, 90 meetings in 90 days. Ask for help. Don't drink. Don't use. Get a sponsor. Get active. But step one is admitted I was powerless, which is very, very hard to do. You know, reality, we are in denial because we don't want to realize that we are powerless over alcohol, powerless over people, powerless over relationships, powerless over food, powerless over all these things. We don't want to admit it, and that's what step one's about. Step one is like the awakening when you collide into a wall. So if you're colliding into the wall and you're listening to this, you know, chances are you're at the threshold of the first step. And all you have to do is say, yeah, yep. You don't know the solution, but you know you collided into something really, really tough. You know, so that's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to think about if you're watching this and you're struggling and you're at the end of your rope and you're a train wreck. You know, think of my first meeting. Think of your maybe first meeting. Think of hope. Hope is what you need. Hope is the thing you need right now. And I'm telling you that a new life is just a prayer away. Just say, sweet God, help me. Sweet Jesus, help me. And then do what just happens. You know, go to a meeting. Call somebody you know. Look up in a book. Look up someplace. Find an AA meeting. When you go there, say, hey, I'm new. I know you want to hide in the back and you don't know what's going on, but just say, hey, I'm new. I don't understand what this stuff is, you know. And if they're halfway decent, you're gonna end up with a handshake of somebody that's been around a while, and can sort of help you. Be open-minded to help. You know, be willing to put in time and effort into surviving. You know, and believe in hope. You know, believe in the fact that if you ask for help from a God you don't understand, you're going to get the help. I lived and breathed on one thing. You get what you need, not what you want. And if you're new, you're going to get what you need, maybe not what you want. I wanted to get sober. I wanted to get wasted and not have a problem. That wasn't the solution. I had to get sober and twitch a lot. But eventually I don't twitch as much. And life happened. You know, the life I didn't have was happening, finally. So I want you, right now, if you're at the beginning of step one, to first ask for help from a power greater than yourself, and look up AA or NA, or send me a comment or a message or something like that. We can hook you up with things if you're in the gym jams and you're dual addicted and you got a bunch of drug stuff. Then maybe we can you can find a detox to get safely off the drugs. You know, hook yourself up with some people that are staying straight and staying clean, or hook yourself up with a CR if you got issues with all the crazy crap you can get into as a Christian. You know, because Christians aren't perfect. They're usually they can get an Oscar for acting sometimes. So if you go to church and you see nobody has a problem, there's a lot of Oscars there. There's a lot of performances going on, because undercover, everybody in church, a lot of people in church are struggling with stuff, and all they know to do is play Christian. That's all they know to do. So if you're brand new, if you're thinking about getting straight or clean, if you're struggling with sex or drinks or drugs or pills or everything, if you're struggling with a combination of drugs and alcohol and pills and mental illness and stuff like that. If you're in that mire, then ask for help. Whistle to God however you want. He'll answer. And be willing to do what you need to do to get clean and straight. If you're struggling with mental illness, ask yourself a question, am I taking meds for that? And if I am, and I have a doctor, am I just not taking them sometimes? If that's the case, go to your doctor, tell them the truth. Maybe you need to go someplace and get settled in the meds thing. Maybe you need to get a hospitalization to get yourself stabilized. Maybe you're drinking and drugging and you've got a mental illness diagnosis, which doesn't work out well. Maybe you need to get a hospitalization under your belt. Maybe you need to talk to a doctor. Maybe you need a good meds guy to get stuff squared away. But remember, you can be dual diagnosed, drug, alcohol, mental illness, all that stuff, But if you whisper help from God, He'll help you go to places where you can get help. It might not be the help you want. You might have to be on meds. You might have to see a therapist all the time. You might have to, deal with your limitations. But you can have a life. Get help. Go out and get help. And don't be ashamed. Life has those situations. It's not an issue of sometimes you dual diagnosis, or some of us that I think I've got a touch of Asperger's and a bunch of other stuff that makes me hard for me to do social stuff. Whatever the meds are, get a good meds guy and try to work out a good combination. If you're drunk or an addict, go to meetings. If you've got a dual diagnosis, go to the therapist, get the meds, get squared away. If you need hospitalization, go. That's the way it works. This is not a competition for who's the mentally is most healthy. Just you do what you need to do to get functional and have a life that God wants you to have, a life that He wants you to help other people with. But you can't do it unless you're willing to have a step one thing. I can't, He can. And I better listen to Him, and I better do what He wants me to do. You can't do it yourself. Step one is, I can't do it myself. I need to ask God for help. But I can't do it myself. That's step one. I can't do it myself. I need somebody else's plan, and I need to follow it. So if anybody's listening, make a comment, contact me. You can go to NA, you go to AA, you can go to any number of places. Dual diagnosis, there's outfits you can go for that. So if you have questions, get in contact with us, comment or whatever. There's a million resources. If you're poor, there's still resources. God's free. You don't have to pay $50 to talk to God, and He's got all the power. So talk to Him. Ask. You might not know Him. You might have a terrible relationship. You might have done everything you think that would just completely make it so that you're not functional with God. I'm telling you, He's paid the price. You can come to Him and you can get the help you need. And He'll move mountains to help you. And then He'll tell you, you might not know Jesus, you might not know anything, you might not know how it works, you might not know. But give Him a chance. Just give Him a chance, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised and amazed that there is help like that. And I just want you to get the help you need. Am I all together? Obviously not. I think I'm looking out from under my glasses. I just realized that. So, I need you to reach out to somebody. Like I say, reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to, AA or NA or your therapist or whoever you are, and CR, the church or something like that. Reach out and say, I can't, and then God will show you how you can get help. And that's all I got for right now. But we'll put it together. This is the intro to the steps. Step 1, powerless over whatever. And it's the beginning of a new day for you, the beginning of an absolutely new day for you, And it's not a crime to be powerless. It is the beginning of a new day. I can't, he can, I think I better let him, is the key that opens the door to a new life. And I want you, if you don't have that, to turn that key, ask for help, reach out to us, reach out to somebody, reach out to a pastor, reach out to a therapist, and be willing to take the help. They might say, you need to go to detox. Go to detox. This isn't a pride thing. Pride will kill you. Open-mindedness, honesty, and willingness will get you a new life. It's a day at a time. It's hard. It's not easy. But it's better than dying by yourself. And I just pray, Lord, oh God, that you would, whoever's listening that needs help, I pray, oh God, they have a moment of God clarity and they do what they need to do to get better. In Jesus' name I pray. You have a good day. You have a blessed day. You have a whatever day you want to have. But don't drink, don't use, don't do anything drastic. There's hope. God is always able there to get in and fix a hopeless situation. So you just come along with us. There's people here that want to walk along with you. There's friends that you don't have yet. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. It's crazy people. I mean, you're not getting into like the mental health poster children of the world when you come along with us. But you're going to feel at home because, let's be honest, you're not a mental health poster child yourself. So come along with us. You'll feel right at home. Thank you, and God bless, and don't drink, don't use, do the next right thing. Thank you.